One of the most controversial topics about Matrix Resurrections is the new Morpheus. Why is he played by a new actor? Why didn't Lawrence Fishburne return? Today, a new interview with actor Yaya Abdul-Mateen II, the new Morpheus, was published on Entertainment Weekly, where he revealed new important information about Matrix 4, including new pictures from the film. Today we're going to be discussing the biggest Matrix news stories of the week. Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Nick Romano from Entertainment Weekly interviewed Abdul-Mateen. We will be analyzing the most important points of this interview. And I quote, "Yaya Abdul-Mateen II knows the risk that comes with reinterpreting beloved cinematic characters, but so far, those risks have served them well." He told Entertainment Weekly, "It's not really my job to try to duplicate or try to challenge that history." End quote. But then how can he play the role of one of the most important characters in the franchise? The article continues, and I quote, "The latest pair of shoes that the star has been asked to fill are the most imposing yet. At the end of 2019, he auditioned for The Matrix Resurrections, the fourth installment of the Matrix films. The character he was up for was Morpheus." End quote. In past videos, we have talked about the rumors that Mateen would be playing Morpheus, and then on Instagram, the actor apparently confirmed his role by writing the name Morpheus on a photo from the film. So this article also confirms that he is indeed Morpheus. We continue, and I quote, "Abdul-Mateen couldn't wrap his head around how it was going to work. How was he going to replace Lawrence Fishburne as the prognosticating paragon of bullet dodging in the Wachowski sci-fi trilogy? For his part, Abdul-Mateen has nothing but respect for Fishburne's performance and had no interest in replacing it. Lawrence already did what he had done," he says. "I think what the script provided was a new narrative and some new opportunities that did make room within the Matrix universe for a new Morpheus." End quote. What Abdul-Mateen mentions is very important because he speaks of a new Morpheus and that he is not trying to replace the classic. This could mean that Abdul-Mateen's character is not the same Morpheus from the previous trilogy, but a new Morpheus. How? We have already mentioned in other videos that he could be a reborn Morpheus from the 7th simulation, a red pill, or perhaps a Matrix facade or trap. In the Matrix universe, there are many possibilities and alternatives for Morpheus to return without necessarily being the one from the previous trilogy, and thus respecting Lawrence Fishburne's run as the character. We continue with the article, and I quote, "Neo had to defeat Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith before sacrificing his body to the bots. Morpheus would later return in a Matrix video game, a piece of the movie's expanded canon, in which he seemingly died trying to recover Neo's remains." Abdul-Mateen denies that the game impacted his performance. Beyond that, he is pretty tight-lipped about the latest Matrix installment and his character's importance to its plot. End quote. This part is interesting because it references the events of Matrix Online. It is mentioned that this did not impact Mateen's acting, which perhaps he did not know what happened to Morpheus in Matrix Online, or maybe it is not important for his character. Moving on, and I quote, "He knows how to keep a deep secret, or at least stick to an NDA, his one concession. This is definitely a different iteration of the character." End quote. As we mentioned earlier, it is referred to Mateen playing a different version of Morpheus. Very curious. We continue with the words of Yaya Abdul-Mateen himself, and I quote, "I play a character who's definitely aware of the history of the Matrix and the history of Morpheus," he says. "This character is on a journey of self-discovery. There is a lot in our story that's about growth, defining your own path. Morpheus isn't exempt from that. What the viewers will come to understand is that there are many rules of the Matrix," he says. "Age, appearance, the things we define as real can be manipulated in that world. The Matrix is where anything is possible." End quote. Mateen mentions that his character knows of the history of the Matrix and Morpheus. And again, the actor's words tell us that he is not the same character from the previous trilogy. The article concludes with, and I quote, "In that first film 2 decades ago, the Wachowskis offered a warning about what the future might become." Abdul-Mateen suggests, "We may have become that future," while Resurrection still points to those dangers, he adds. "Our film is much more driven by the hope of what the world can be, that it grounds it in all reality. Everybody's so plugged in these days. I think for a lot of reasons, it'll be a mind trip." End quote. Apart from the interview, 3 HD photographs of the film were published. The first is a close-up of Yaya Abdul-Mateen as Morpheus. The second one is of Neo facing Morpheus in the dojo, which appears to be a still image straight out of the trailer. But the third photograph is a new one. In this photograph, we see Jessica Henwick, Keanu Reeves, and Abdul-Mateen in the theater. On the stage, there is the leather seat that Morpheus used when he met Neo. It is as if the scene from the first movie is being recreated, but as a stage play. We saw this in the Matrix 4 trailer. We will be making a video about this scene explaining its symbolism and secrets. And our last bit of news comes from an unexpected source: Venom 2. According to some news outlets, there is an unexpected connection between the two films. IGN reports, and I quote, "Venom Let There Be Carnage, which is in theaters now, and The Matrix Resurrections, which is coming this December, were both filming in San Francisco in February of 2020. This led to some production difficulties for the Venom sequel, but also accidentally resulted in a fun Easter egg. In a bit of impromptu thinking, the Venom team decided to utilize the nearby helicopters being used for Matrix and incorporate them into their own action sequences. The helicopters were actually in the Matrix movie," Venom 2 location manager Christopher Kosiak said regarding one of Venom 2's action scenes to Screen Rant. "The Matrix was filming at the same time, so we were catching part of their activity on camera. At one point in Venom Let There Be Carnage, you can see and hear multiple helicopters in pursuit of some of the movie's main characters. Instead of using their helicopters, the Venom team was using the Matrix's helicopters for their scenes." End quote. This news is somewhat funny, and even more so when, spoiler alert, Venom is now part of the MCU multiverse. So could it be that Venom is inside a Matrix simulation? Interesting thought. But do you agree? Will Yaya Abdul-Mateen II be able to fill Lauren Fishburne's shoes as the new Morpheus? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.